So I was sitting in Bali in the sun, having a nice healthy meal, and I realised in this busy restaurant that I was feeling good. And then I worked out why was I feeling good, and I thought about what I changed in my life. The biggest things that I changed in my life since flexing on you, going from 0k earnings and revenue 3 months ago, literally feeling like I was hopeless. I just quit my corporate job, had nothing really in my life that I was excited for, to now 3 months later having hit 100k revenue with my business, but more importantly feeling more happy, more fulfilled, more healthy and more aligned to myself than I ever have before. And I was thinking, why is that, and how can I almost give one bit of advice that I feel like has been useful for me? And it all comes down to one thing really that has propelled me beyond where I was in my past self to where I am now. And that is both business, but also kind of in my life and how I feel that I operate day to day. And that is giving up alcohol. And in this video, I want to go into the depths of why, if you're watching this right now, I don't want to preach. I think there's many ways to live your life. There's many things you can do that might affect or impact your life in different ways. And I'm not one to tell you what to do. Apart from, all I can say is what I have personally done to get where I am right now. And that has been giving up alcohol, because I want to almost start with what I used to be like. In university, I was the absolute classic like rugby boy. I was the guy that went out 3 times a week. I was the guy that went out 3 times a week. I was the guy that got absolutely obliterated every single time I went out. I had zero control at all. And I thought I was sick. And at the same time, I had a great time. I actually wouldn't take those years back at all. I met some amazing friends who are still great friends of mine, and we have some amazing stories that will last us for a lifetime. And I don't knock that. If you're watching this here in uni right now, really enough, I would advise you to have a great time, enjoy yourself. But at the same time, there were parts of me that I wasn't proud of. There were parts of me that I wasn't happy with. I don't think I was the nicest person drinking. I think I was like, it almost brought out a sort of a kind of, I don't want to say an ego, but also it brought out a bit of like it brought out the loud side of me. I wasn't considerate of others as much. I'd spend a ridiculous amount of money. It gave me a big spotlight effect where I thought things were kind of a bit more about me, and maybe I wouldn't think of other people as much. But enough about the negatives of my past life. But that was, I wasn't like proud of myself drinking. And then I went traveling in Australia, went traveling in New Zealand, basically drunk our way up the east coast and around the 2 islands of New Zealand. And I got to Bali and I was kind of sick of drinking, to be honest. I had just drunk for so long, and again had unbelievable memories with some amazing friends, but I was sick of drinking. And I got to the point where I was like, all right, like maybe after a week or 2 of seeing friends in Bali and drinking, I might actually give a go not drinking. And that was an effort that I had in my head, but it actually came into being different, because what actually happened was I ended up vibing and meeting certain people that I was like, I just really vibe with you. I really like your attitude to life. I like your energy. And all of those people were people who, you know, those quote unquote insufferable people that I would have called them in my old alcohol days, which is the people who go to bed at 9 in the evening, wake up in 5 in the morning and go for a run. And that is what they enjoy doing, and that's what they see as fun. And I used to think that those people were horrendous, but then I actually spent time with them. And you know, if you're just kind of dropped into a random location, like kind of what happened to me in Bali, and I had to make friends, they were the people that I gravitated towards. So I blinked and 2 months had gone and I hadn't touched a drop of alcohol, and not out of choice, just out of the fact that it just wasn't done. Like no one around me was doing it. And then I did that for another month and another month and another month, and I basically, apart from having a beer literally like every now and then, I basically did 4 months of not really drinking while I was in Bali. And then what happened is I went back, and you will have seen from my channel everything that's happened to me in terms of I went back into corporate London, having been setting up businesses out here in Bali, hated my life. But one of the biggest things that I did, which is I literally tribute to where I am sat right now in Bali on 6 figures, like very excited about life, but I tribute that specifically to a 6-month sober period that I had from February of 2024. I got back to London and I knew that I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be in my corporate job, and I didn't want to be in that life of going to the pub, getting obliterated. I knew that would be a backward step from the life that I'd had out here in Bali. And then I said to myself, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to not drink for 6 months. And what that's going to do is that's going to be my commitment to getting back to this life, getting back to this like crazy island where people are happy, healthy, building amazing businesses, making loads of money. And that was the commitment I had to myself. And then I said, okay, well, if I'm going to do that, I need 6 months. So I went 6 months sober. I said, I'm not drinking. And you can imagine, like, I don't know if you're in the UK right now, but if you're not in the UK, you can imagine, like, you go back to an environment where you are this individual person. I'm sure you've had this as well. Like, you are this person. For me, that was the person that drank alcohol, got absolutely steaming every time that I drank. I'd gone away for this year traveling, and I came back, and I say to everyone, I'm going to go 6 months sober. That's hard in any environment, let alone in the UK in February, when all there is to do is get drunk and go out. Like, there is literally nothing. The weather is miserable. Everything else sucks. So that was pretty hard. But I said to myself, it was my commitment to building the life that I wanted to build. And instead of going out on Fridays and Saturdays, and all my friends will attest to me doing this, instead of going out on Fridays and Saturdays, I didn't even bother going out with them. I sat in a co-working. It was either in my flat and then a bit later on in a co-working, and I just worked. I literally just grinded. Like, I put in on Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays. I worked, I don't know, like 25 hours, Fridays, Saturdays and Sundays, alongside my 60-hour week consulting job. And I just grinded out. I was doing content, I was building a community, and the long-winded version of why I was saying all that is because that 6 months, I learned skills that I would never have been able to learn if I was drinking. Like, I wouldn't have had the time, I wouldn't have had the mental capacity, I would have like had no motivation. All of that I wouldn't have had if I had been drinking. And that's the story that I wanted to give you. But I want to like address you directly, which is, I think right now, like, maybe you're watching this and you have a few drinks every now and then, and that's absolutely fine. Like, don't get me wrong. I think, again, as I said, I don't want to tell you what to do, but I found that when I was drinking alcohol, it takes a few things away from me, and I kind of touched on it there, but the first thing that it takes away from you is it takes time. And when you are starting a business or building a business or scaling a business, your time is so precious. It's so precious. And imagine if I said to you, like, there is something you do that not only takes away the time of you doing it, so you lose time when you're doing it, but it also takes away time when you don't do it, because the day after you drink, you also have time gets taken away from you. And that to me was just the worst trade-off possible. I was like, I'm working a 60-hour week job. I need more hours to build what I want to build. Why the hell would I even give myself a little bit of time not doing that, i.e. drinking, let alone the drinking activity plus everything that happens the next day where you're sat in your bed ordering McDonald's, you can't move, you've got the worst headache in the world. All of that adds up, and that for me, when I was seeing my friends, like on a Sunday, they would be in bed, feeling awful, no energy. And I was like, well, I'm never, ever gonna like risk that happening to me. So I just decided it was a no drinking thing. And if you are building that business, if you are wanting to like grow and build that online life, then you need time. Time is your ally, and giving up alcohol will give you back so much time. I kind of worked out, you can go down sums here of working out what your hourly time is worth, and then saying, well, if I lose I don't know, say 5 hours of productive work a week, and that's an underestimate, I'd say, 5 hours of productive work a week, and say you're worth £100 an hour, like that's a £500 loss. Maybe that works in your head, or maybe it's just the fact that, you physically know how much time you're losing. And one of my clients who, Josh, who actually came out and visited me in Bali here, it's amazing because we were chatting and he was like, I just don't have any time to build this agency. And I asked him what he did at the weekends. He was like, well, I was hungover, I went out with my friends. And don't get me wrong, he's a fucking hard worker, but at the same time, like, he had a few of these habits. And I just said to him, mate, it depends how much you want it. But if you want this life out in Bali, if you want your agency to grow, then you're gonna have to give up alcohol. And he did. We added 4K to his business in literally 30 days after he gave up alcohol. And he came out here and visited me in Bali, and he said, I'm going back to London, I'm not drinking, and all I'm gonna do is try and work to get out here. And I was like, that's unbelievable. And that's a great testament, not only of him getting an amazing result from the program, but also just like committing and getting his head down and giving up that alcohol. And he saw that life and he went, I don't want alcohol as part of that. So that'd be the first thing I say, is it gives you back your time. But the bigger thing for me is that I've realized in this entrepreneur journey, and especially, I'm now working with some amazing clients and we're getting amazing results, but the ones that get the amazing results and the ones that don't, they have one big thing, like big difference. And everyone gets good results, I'll be honest. Like, you can see my results on my testimonial channel, but the ones that outperform the others, they have their habits in place. They have their morning routines. They exercise. They have discipline with certain things. And that's not saying the others don't, but like, for example, Ben's made 13.9K with his closing coaching business, and in I think it's like 22 days with me, and he is locked in. He gets up in the morning, exercises. I think he just did a marathon the other day. He's absolutely smashing like outbound content, like just dedicating himself to this. And all of this is related to alcohol, because alcohol is a poison that you put into your body, and your body is your business, because the habits that you have, the mindsets that you have, play out into your business itself. Because say, for example, you have awful organization, then that's going to play out in your client delivery. Your clients are going to see that and you're going to get no results. Or say you are, I don't know, really bad at not going on your phone. Like, that's going to affect your actual business output because you're constantly checking your phone. So your habits impact your business. They're an extension of one another. And I've seen this all the time with my business, but my clients as well. And the worst thing about alcohol is your body is your business, and you are putting a poison into that business. And when I started thinking about alcohol like a poison being put into the machine that is your business, then it's the worst decision ever. Because, I don't know, you could do something else, like just not work for a day, and that's obviously an awful idea for your business. But putting alcohol is even worse, because you're costing yourself money and you're also poisoning the machine that is your business. And the problem with that alcohol is then it affects all of your other habits, like your motivation. For me, that's the worst thing. When I drink, I'm happy to eat like shit. I don't exercise. I don't do anything that I need to do to make my body better. And if I don't do that, then that affects my business. So giving up alcohol basically helped me get my body in check and my mind in check. And that then helped me get my business in check, because now I can work at the things that I need to work at to then improve the business. And that's fascinating to me. And I just want to touch on one more point there, is my mental health, right? Like, God, the last 2 months, like, there's videos on my Instagram, there's videos on my YouTube of me like in dark places, like relatively dark places, like I still had a roof over my head, but really doubting myself, right? And with alcohol, we both know what the Sunday scaries are like with the alcohol Sunday scaries when you're hungover, and the anxiety that you get, the hangover anxiety. I can't remember, anxiety. There we go. Like, we both know what that's like. Imagine that feeling, but also knowing that your business isn't working, or you don't know what you're doing with your life, or something like that. Like, imagine that feeling plus alcohol. I mean, maybe you do, and maybe that feeling is too bad. And I had some low moments and I was sober. I couldn't imagine what it was like. What it'd be like building a business and being in the position I was in when you were drinking, because oh my God, I would have doubted myself so much and I would have given up because I would have just had no motivation. Whereas I need every ounce of motivation and every ounce of confidence that I can find in my body to build this thing. And that has helped me so much, because in the dark times, I don't have issues like I had when I was drinking, and I couldn't build anything. I even started a few businesses with alcohol in university when I was drinking alcohol. And each time I felt absolutely like shocking the whole time, because I was like, well, why would I felt awful. I had no confidence, I had no drive. And yeah, so the mental health aspect of it as well. And all of this is ignoring that alcohol is just obviously bad for you. I'm just talking about this in a purely business sense right now, but we'll ignore the fact that like alcohol is just inherently bad for you. So I think that's one of the other things. And then the last thing I want to touch on, and maybe this is something you haven't considered, but surprises me a lot when people chat to me about alcohol, is like, it costs so much money to drink. Like even out in Bali, it is fairly cheap. Like you can get a beer for £2, $2, and you can drink fairly cheaply. But at the same time, like, let's go to the West, where if you're a guy, you're dropping 100 quid on a night out. And that's like, you know, whether you do any other stuff as well is your business, not mine. But it can, 200, 300, 400 pounds a night was something I regularly spoke to my friends and heard that they had spent. And I needed a runway when I quit my job to make sure that I actually had enough like money to live. But then also you need stuff to pump back into a business. Like if you're running a business and you need the runway, that's important. But if you need to hire people, if you need creatives done, if you need freelancers, like all of these things need money. And money also provides a great protection, because you know that you will be covered. You can't start a business with $0 or £0 because of the fact that you need to live and eat. Even if you're at your parents' house, you need to live and eat, right? So alcohol was not only bad for all the other things that I've said, but it also drained my precious resource that was money. And my money was my timer, because in an infinite universe, I will succeed at this business, but I'm gonna need to eat at some point, and I'm gonna need to live in a rented place at some point. And if I run out of that, then I have to go back to doing a wage and giving up that business. So money is the only thing that limits the time that you have to be successful as an entrepreneur. And I could not justify spending a single pound on alcohol because of the fact that it was not only detriment to my business, but it was costing me money, which I didn't have when I was trying to build that business. So right now, like for example, I am about to start a load of ads, and I want to put every single spare pound I have into those ads, because I know there'll be a return on investment on them. Whereas buying booze and buying a beer, the return on investment is so negative, because it's not only an expense, but it's also an expense that has a worse effect because of what it does to your mental health and what it does to your time. I just couldn't justify it. So that's another reason why giving up alcohol, oh my God, is the best thing you will ever do. And I'm just doing circles now, but I wanted to just be very clear that I don't want to lecture you at all. You should do everything you want to do in your life. But I often get asked what the one big thing that I would say to anyone who wanted to quit the 9 to 5, or just had a business, like a coaching business, a high ticket business that they wanted to scale, because, you know, I have done it to that 6 figures mark in such a short space of time. I get asked that question a lot, and it just comes down to giving up alcohol. So thanks for listening. Goodbye.